What happens when this
I'm the conductor of the poop train!
and this
This is what you think of me? This is what I am to you? A monster?
make a baby? Hey dudes, today I'll be giving my first impression of the Roguelands mod for Borderlands 2. I spent about 8 or so hours playing it now, and I'm going to give you what I think is good, what I think is bad, what I'd like to change. Some of those changes, of course, may be unrealistic, because there's only so much you can do in a mod. So let's start with an explanation of what Roguelands is. What Roguelands aims to be is a mix of Borderlands 2 combined with traditional roguelites, such as The Binding of Isaac, Enter the Gungeon, Hades, Spelunky. If you played them, you know what they all have in common, the repeatability factor. So in Roguelands you start out with no guns on you, and only your starting action skill. So there will be some guns on the ground and some in some chests. You'll gear up and you'll start jumping right into mobbing. It'll have an objective like defeat 10 mobs, defeat 15 mobs. You beat them and you can move on, but you'll be smart to explore. There's chests around, little secrets to find, things to help enhance your run. You do a few of those and you get a mini boss, and then you get a big boss, and then you'll move on to eventually a raid boss to cap off the difficulty. And this repeats with the difficulty increasing 2 more times. There are neat things like loot enemies to find. They seem to be increased here. The balancing is there, so you don't need slag. Slag's even been rebalanced to, I think, only give a 50% increase. Whenever you beat one of these objectives, you can move on to the next room. You'll be given a choice of 2 rewards that get better the further you go. Typically starts with blues, goes on to purples, legendaries, so on, and you'll get 5 skill points at a time. So you'll be making mini builds as you go through, which is pretty fun if you like to spec towards a certain gun, or if you just have your leveling path and you like to do. That's all there. The kicker here is if you've never played a roguelite, you're just done. You die, the run's over, you start over from the beginning. They're not made for everybody. A lot of people like to save their progression and so on, and some people like these things like to see how far they can go, how many times in a row they can win it. But it's not your typical Borderlands experience where you level up, you die, you come back right where you were with a small money penalty. There are real consequences to dying in the Roguelands. I'd say if you liked things like Arms Race, Digistruct Peak, and the Chaos Chambers, that you'll be right at home here with this game mode. So let's talk about the things that I thought were good and felt good in this mod. It felt like Borderlands, which I know sounds general. Of course it's Borderlands, but this is something that's important here. It's you don't pick up a Borderlands 2 mod to feel so far removed from the gameplay that you've come to love. It relies a lot on your mobility, knowledge of your guns, knowledge of the enemies, which is good. It respects that you've played the game. It's also surprisingly balanced. I know for me, probably true Vault Hunter mode up to level 50 is the best Borderlands 2 felt, as we got into Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, where slag felt mandatory, and doubly so in the OP levels. This is pretty good. You hit the right element on a guy, fire on flesh, corrosive on steel, and you're going to do pretty well. Slag has been rebalanced here, as I mentioned earlier, to I think about 50% buff, so still worth your time using. Another thing I really enjoyed are the Butt Stallion plates. If you find them, they're hidden. I think there's one in almost every level, maybe barring boss stages, where you'll get some gemstone weapons, same as you would get in Tina's DLC, where you feed Butt Stallion Iridium. Bosses can also give you these boss gift boxes. So they're just like big presents. You shoot them and you can find the blue uniques in the game. You know, I would assume that the ruby's in there. I hadn't seen it. I found the kitten, the sandhawk's in there. Pimpernel, things like that. The really fun blue weapons. One of my favorite things probably has to be the candies you can find. They're kind of in the vein of the buffs you can find in the Tina DLC. Like, there's candies that will give you grenade spam. You can just throw grenades and they'll keep regenerating. Rocket spam. There's one where you'll have a ton of pellet count. So you do kind of like a crazy shotgun blast that one-taps a lot of things. I wouldn't say it's necessarily balanced, but it feels a power fantasy that feels good in any game. You're also not just dumped in here and you're doing it. There is lore to find. It's Tannis based because of course it's a Tannis thing. You're in somewhere you're not supposed to be doing something for science that you don't understand. That's very Tannis. So they didn't just dump you in here. There's a reason for it. I haven't completed it yet to know how it ends, but it's nice that they fleshed that part of the game out. Let's talk about some of the things I didn't like, some of the things I would consider bad. Number one, probably the most important one to get out of the way, is runs are long. Like, really, really long. Now, I know with familiarity, that time will go down, but starting out, it feels long. Even when I'm seeing in chat, they're saying that speedrunning this still takes an hour. Now, most roguelites I've played, runs, I mean, on the upward end for an hour. Yeah, and that's if you really want to dig into them. And this, I know that'll go down when I explore less and I know where everything is at. But it's not really something you can jump into with a limited amount of time. Like, this is a sit-down gaming session if you just want to do one run, it feels like to me. And I think that it's going to turn people off for this reason. Because it's a roguelite, and when you die, you don't come back. You pour 2 hours into it, and you have nothing to show for it. You just lost. You know, I know that, you know, the treasure is the journey and not the destination, but it's a turn-off for people. The next thing, I have 3 things written down here, but they all kind of boil down to the same thing. It's just that the spawn, sometimes you spawn in and it's so bad. You're already in the middle of the fight. You don't know what map you're on yet because you just came in. You're already in the middle of it, so it doesn't feel good to spawn in. You're under-geared, and you're already looking down an ultimate badass. That doesn't seem fair to me. You can also spawn in right next to a barrel, which I guess is a very Borderlands thing, unexpected barrels, but it doesn't feel good. Again, like, these are long runs, you die, it's over. And you feel quite cheated when you die to a barrel. Also, because of this, you can't really be methodical in every maps in your combat. You know, you don't have the time to seek out your cover, survey the battlefield, and start picking things off to your liking, which is one of my preferred playstyles. That kind of gets taken away from you at points, and that's fine if that's the design, but it doesn't. There are maps that just don't accommodate everybody's playstyle, which is a bad feeling. Now, how I would fix this? I mean, I don't know. I don't know the capabilities of what they can do in this mod. I would like to think somehow they put you up in a glass window kind of deal that you can descend onto. Now, people will cheese that someone can shoot a hive out of it or something, I'm sure, but just something you jump out of. I think there's a slaughter dome in Borderlands 2 where if you're playing with a buddy and you die, you get to look on, but you can't really contribute anything. So, I don't know, something like that with a way to get out of there, an elevator, something, if that's in the realm of possibility, just so you know where you're at. So, let's go on to the things that I would change. So, offering feedback on changes is difficult here, not knowing what they can and can't do in the confines of this mod in this game. But I'll start with some things they probably could do. More mini games, for sure. Like the final mini game to get the bus down. That's fun. I think I'd like to see those things in between. Like, it has a random chance to replace one of the mob waves, something like that, just to break it up a little. I'd also like to see maybe some slot machines mixed in there. More things to do with money other than F3 respec. And some kind of progression. When I had talked to Joltz yesterday, he talked about potentially using the badass rank, but it's hard because different enemies give different XP. So it would be nice if there was some kind of progression between runs. I don't know what that could be with stats, or maybe you earn the right to start with blues instead of greens, something like that. Could be impossible. I don't know. I think bonus objectives would be cool. Now, they have it where you, like, find the tires, find the cans, things like that, in mini-bosses. I don't even know those reward, because I'm never able to find them all. But I think some other ones, like, okay, beat this room in a minute 30. And it would grant you some kind of bonus. Something to incentivize changing up your pace, going really fast, you know? Rather than someone that likes to play methodically like me, give me an incentive to change my play style. Go fast, maybe I get a specific chest or an extra unique weapon drop or just something fun like that. The things I've touched on earlier, I don't know the best way to chop down a run's time, but runs are I think they're just too long with the consequences too high. Will it feel good when you finally beat it? Oh, for sure. It's a big time investment. But the grind should feel good to get there. And I think cutting it down, if you can cut it down by a third and still make it feel as good as a full run does for when you have the time, that'd be great. And safer spawn points. Again, it does not feel good to spawn into a badass with a bunch of mobs, explosions, a barrel next to you. Now, not knowing if this could be added either, but I think it probably could in some kind of text somewhere. Now, I know these maps are pulled from other maps that have names, but I would like to spawn in and see a unique name for a map, because I think it would give a map a sense of identity. Also, it gives your mind more time to prepare, like, uh-oh, I'm in Silly Skag Den. Better get my fire weapon ready and be ready to jump over to this crate. Or I'm in Walloping Robot Hell. You can go ahead and use that name if you'd like. So I gotta have my corrosive ready. Or I gotta have my Teslas ready to pull shields. Things like that. Just things to better equip the player. And I think all these rooms, I know there's 100+ rooms right now. A name gives them even more of a sense of identity. That identity is also going to help us be able to give feedback on how to fix these individual rooms to make them better, overall making the whole experience to the mod better. Now, in terms of hyper unrealistic things, dailies and seeding where we could all get the same weapons, things like that, I'm sure that's impossible. I would like something to the Isaac equivalent to a Deal with the Devil, where I give something up for something really good and a really good loot pull. Maybe targeting minigames with timers, just anything fun outside of just raw, killed a thing, move on. It's why the exploration works in this. It's something beyond the regular Borderlands things. Maybe even a platforming puzzle that has to be done in X amount of time. Or maybe a platforming puzzle where they give you a level 1 rocket launcher so you can't kill yourself, but you can still progress and do these jump puzzles and learn skips and things like that. I also like the idea of NPCs in here. It'd be cool if you snuck in Moxie's tip jar as another way to get the crit or something random like that, but something more like that. As I said, some of these things may even be in here. I know we have the one NPC that gives you the E-Tech weapon, but more of that would feel really good. So, to my conclusion, Roguelands sets out to be Borderlands meets roguelites, and I think it does it really well. The moment I'm done, I want to come back into it, but then I think, how much time is this going to take me? Especially when I was recording some footage for editing, it was really hard not to just jump back in and play some more and even try to get some more quality footage from some deeper runs. It's really fun. It has its flaws like any mod, but as somebody like me that really loves roguelites and really loves Borderlands, it did what it set out to accomplish. I would recommend, if you're on the fence about it and you're able to get it, you should. I'll send a link in the description down below to an installation guide video if you'd like to check it out. It's completely free, so the worst that'll happen is you spend a little bit of your time, decide it's not for you, and delete it. I'm going to be playing it all week long on my Twitch channel, Immature Rated Gaming, at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday this week. If you'd like to check it out for yourself and talk to me, give me your feedback. How do you guys feel about Roguelands? Have you played it? Do you want to play it? Can you not play it because you have a console? Put it in the comments down below. If you like the video, feel free to like, dude. And I'll see you in the next one.